The following podcast contains movie spoilers and mature content, including graphic descriptions of violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Opening Kill, the podcast that dives deep into the chilling world of horror films. Every Thursday, we explore a different movie, from cult classics to modern masterpieces, uncovering behind-the-scenes secrets, analyzing themes, and sharing fun facts about your favorite horror films. Join us as we chat with filmmakers and fellow horror film fans to celebrate the fear in cinema. And now, the hosts of Opening Kill, Michael Doran and Brian O'Connor.
What's poppin', Brian?
Well, hello there, Michael Duran, and happy post-St. Patty's Day.
Yeah. Did you get fucked up?
You know, I did, yes.
Good for you.
I did. I'm continuing. The beverage choice has changed for the show this week. Because Not for you. No, you were sticking to the Rolling Rock. I have switched to the Guinness.
I'm a dainty daisy. I can't do that heavy stuff.
That is true. This is a pretty heavy beer for you.
Yeah. But I have a green can, so who's really St. Patrick's Day?
That's true. That's true. It is true. So, every time I do a holiday or a birthday, it goes, not just that day, it goes into the week. And that's, birthday week went like a week and a half.
That felt like 2 weeks.
It almost went 2 weeks, I swear to God. But so St. Patrick's Day continuing this week here on Opening Kill, episode 17.
And we didn't even do Leprechaun. What's wrong with us?
Oh, man, we missed the boat on that one, didn't we?
No, we didn't, because those movies are awful, and I never want to watch them again.
They're not fantastic.
The best one is Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah.
And that's easily the most enjoyable.
Right. Oh, dear Lord. So I did kind of stick with the Irish thing here by watching a movie called Wakewood from 2009. It's an Irish supernatural horror film. It's about a couple whose 9-year-old daughter is mauled to death by a dog. I know, that's how it starts. And only you would find that funny.
I just didn't expect that.
Well,
that just surprised me and it made me laugh. That's horrible.
So they move to a village out in the country, and one night their car breaks down. They walk to one of the husband's work associates' house for help because he lives nearby. And when they get onto the property, this is at night, the wife witnesses this really bizarre ritual that takes place. And as it turns out, the husband's work associate has the ability to bring people back from the dead, but only for 3 days. Then they have to go back, and they have to have died within the past year. If it's been more than a year, what comes back is pure evil. Well, move through the story a little bit, and they decide they want to bring their daughter back. Well, the daughter's been dead more than a year, but they lie about it and say it's been less. So this little 9-year-old girl comes back. She starts to murder animals and people.
Nice.
It's got this crazy twist at the very end. And actually, the production value at the beginning, I just was like, this doesn't look like this is going to be great. Got better, and I actually enjoyed it. It was a pretty good movie.
Is it kind of like a Pet Sematary?
That's exactly what I thought when I was heading into it, and that's what it. Yeah, it's basically Pet Sematary with a human in Ireland.
All right, there you go.
Wakewood from 2009.
All right, I watched 2 movies, neither of them good. One of them enjoyable. So the first one is bad and unenjoyable. It was Dark Match from 2024. I was excited about this movie. I thought it was going to be a lot of fun. It is about a underground wrestling crew, I guess. I don't know the right word for it. But they're like kind of down on their luck, and they get hired to go to this compound and do a match that night for like 50 grand. But it turns out it's a cult, and every match is kind of like Mortal Kombat, where someone actually dies.
Oh.
And then it's like a ritual that is supposed to possibly bring on like the devil or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad.
Tell me how you really feel,
I
Michael.
was like, because I thought I loved it at the beginning because they're like using a lot of like wrestling terms. And I was just like, okay, this is clearly going to be like from people who love wrestling, and like wrestling can be fun. And it has a Chris Jericho in it.
Yeah.
Fozzy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Him. Yeah, he's in it.
Okay.
Not good. And it's just stupid and silly and unenjoyable. And it doesn't lean into the camp enough for it to be a guilty pleasure. It's just, ugh. And then I saw 13 Ghosts from 2001. This one's stupid but fun. Great effects on all the ghosts. So that was a lot of fun. Stories, it's take it or leave it. It's not very good, but it's a lot of fun.
So this was the movie you actually went on to the
Yes.
How Do You Watch This podcast?
I did.
With Demi and Megan, who were on with us last week.
Yes. So
Okay.
I watched this for that, and it was a ton of fun. So definitely check out that episode. Definitely worth it. But the 13 Ghosts, a lot of fun. Matthew Lillard's in it. He gives a great campy performance. And that's when I say, check it out. It's silly, but fun.
Awesome. So the trailer for The Last of Us Part 2 finally dropped, and in its first 3 days, 158 million folks around the world streamed it. It set a new record for the most watched HBO trailer for original content. The trailer also gives us a first glimpse of some of the new characters in season 2, including Caitlin Dever as Abby, Isabella Merced as Dina, and Young Mazzino as Jesse. The Last of Us Part 2 debuts on April 13th on Max.
Nice. The Toxic Avenger. We finally got our first look at what Toxie's going to look like, and I love it. He looks fantastic. It's Peter Dinklage.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
playing him. And this movie's been done for a while. It premiered at like a film festival, I think like 2 years ago, and it just was never able to be put out because no studio wanted to touch it. But then the Terrifier studio's like, we'll touch it. And so it's coming out this year, and we finally got our first look at Toxie. And Toxie actually... on St. Patrick's Day, he was in Chicago on a boat when they turned the river green.
Right.
So I thought that was fun little marketing there.
That's awesome.
So yeah, Toxie looks fantastic. Check it out a picture if you haven't seen it.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that movie.
So episode 17 brings us to a film called In a Violent Nature, which came out last year. This is one of those films that I would love to send Demi the title to.
Yeah.
Because here's one that I know Megan would make it through maybe 1 or 2 of the kills, and then I think she would not be able to handle the rest of this movie.
No.
No. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Megan,
that
but
would
just
not-
based on our conversation last week, I don't think you would make it through In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, I don't think this one's for her.
No. I don't think
Put a
so
pin
either.
in this one, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe 4
That's
years
right.
down the line.
Put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Okay, just the facts. In a Violent Nature, written and directed by Chris Nash, stars Rye Barrett as Johnny the Killer. Andrea Pavlovic is in it, Cameron Love, Reese Presley, and Liam Leone. It was released January 24th, 2024 at Sundance and released theatrically in the U.S. May 31st. Made over $4.6 million, so not a lot. The budget was never officially revealed, but it's rumored to be around $500,000, so very cheap, and it made money. Stephen King loved the film, saying, quote, "If you need a slasher movie, this one will do the job." Filming began in 2021 in various locations around Ontario, Canada, has a runtime of 94 minutes.
Want to know something crazy? Especially given that budget. So I learned this today. This entire movie is a reshoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
About 70%, 75% of it had to be completely redone after
the
filmed.
only shot is that made it to this theatrical version is like it's one shot and it's an over the shoulder. I don't know exactly which one it was, but yeah, they filmed this all. The whole production was from hell. Everyone was having a miserable time.
Well, the killer, he got very sick.
They went through like 4
Yeah.
people playing Johnny.
Jeez.
So like I think so a total now with this guy it was 5 people played
Yeah.
Johnny, which I think is like the amount in the entire Friday the 13th franchise for
Right.
Jason.
Right.
But yeah, so it's an entire reshoot, and in order to make that happen, he spent a lot of his own money, and then he spent the editing budget on these reshoots. So I just thought that was kind of crazy.
Plus, he wasn't crazy about the original location, so
They moved it closer to his house.
which is crazy.
Yeah, it's
So, and you think that they only spent $500,000 with? They basically did 2 movies.
they shot it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Nuts.
kind of insane. Yeah.
All right, so it's a Canadian horror film that offers a fresh perspective on the slasher genre because it focuses mainly on the killer rather than the victims. So it follows Johnny, a mute, supernatural figure who rises from his grave in the wilderness after a group of young people inadvertently disturb his resting place by finding and pocketing a locket that once kept his spirit at peace. The film primarily presents events from Johnny's point of view, emphasizing his quest to retrieve the locket and exact his revenge on those who trespassed in his domain.
Yeah, don't trespass.
Don't steal shit that's not yours.
Yeah, even though it's fun. Don't
Yeah. Jeez.
Oh, yeah, fans of crime.
I'll tell you. So it starts out with a group of friends. We have Chris, Colt, Troy, Evan, Aaron, Brody, who's a girl, which is kind of an unusual name for a girl, but that's her name.
Yeah.
And Aurora. And they find the locket hanging on the remains of an old fire tower.
Yep.
Troy decides he's going to keep it. And that starts this entire resurrection of Johnny. So
you see the ground start to like shift, and he takes his time.
You know what I like about this whole sequence is he's out of focus for most of it. They focus on the foreground, and he's kind of blurred out as he's coming up through the ground, and he kind of gets on his feet. And you're really, for the first front part of the film here, you're only seeing him from behind.
Yeah,
for
so
the
thankfully
most part.
he has a nice butt.
Jeez. Well, I'm glad you noticed that.
Well,
and
could you
think
imagine
so.
if he didn't? That'd be horrible.
The guy was in like these ratty clothes. How could you even tell? Yeah, you were looking.
You had to really zoom in there, Brian.
I guess so.
Lots
I guess
of pausing.
so. Anyway, he's roaming through the woods, and he encounters various things. He finds a rotting fox corpse. And then there's an argument going on between a couple of guys at this house.
Yeah.
And so he shows up at the house.
Yeah, because if he ever hears something, he's like an animal. He's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll follow that. Because I think he's just mindlessly walking.
I think so, with no purpose.
I think he has a purpose. His purpose is to find the locket, but he doesn't like have any direction in which that could be. So he just, if he hears something, he heads that way.
So he goes in and he sees this necklace, this locket hanging, and he mistakes it for his.
Yeah.
Well, the homeowner hears him, and he's just come back inside the house, and you hear the shotgun, and he thinks it's the guy he was just quarreling with.
Because he was arguing with the park ranger because Chuck, he likes to set traps in his backyard.
Right.
And the forest ranger's like, Chuck, stop it. And he's like, if I go back there, am I going to find traps? And Chuck's just basically like, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah. And then he looks up, and it's Johnny.
It's Johnny, who we don't know what he looks like yet, but we can tell it's not pleasant based on his response.
And he's able to grab the shotgun out of Chuck's hands.
Yep.
And you see Chuck go stumbling out the back door, and he races off into the woods, and then he steps into one of his own bear traps.
We love irony.
Yeah. And then we get to this.
The opening kill.
So 12 minutes and 57 seconds in, we get to Chuck's death. You don't actually see it.
You don't.
You see a bloody hand coming towards Chuck's face, and you hear Chuck yelling, and he can't go anywhere. He's in this trap. Right? Mm-hmm. So it cuts to Johnny going back to the house, and I think that's where he got the
So he goes and picks up the necklace, and then he has this weird little flashback to his daddy giving it to him, being like, "This was your mother's.
Yep.
She'll live with you if you wear it," or like something like that.
Right.
And so, you clearly learn he's a mommy's boy.
So then he goes back out and he walks past Chuck. Now, Chuck is a little out of focus. To me, it looked like his eyes were gouged out at the very least.
I think definitely that. I don't know the entirety of what happened to Chuck, but it wasn't pleasant. But being that we don't see it, it's kind of weird. I'm going to give a kill in this movie the butter knife.
I'm giving it the butter knife too.
Yeah.
It's there's no way this is a butcher knife because you don't see it, first of all, and there's just nothing to it.
Yeah, I do like that Chuck wears a hat that says motherfucker.
Number one, motherfucker.
Number one.
Yeah.
So he's nationally ranked. So lock up your mothers. Chuck's on the loose. Well, not anymore, actually.
Not anymore.
Yeah, your moms are safe.
So then he walks on by and he hears a car in the distance, and these are the group of friends who are now going down the road to this cabin where they're going to be staying. One of the things about this film that I found interesting, it's shot in a 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's like the old TV format here. It's not widescreen. It's not. It is the square.
Oh.
Great that you noticed that.
So, I did not notice that.
Chris Nash, who directed the film, he filmed it this way because that is how he used to watch slasher films on VHS when he was growing up as a kid.
Okay.
And he wanted to recreate that feel. They also used a Canon C70 camera, which looks like a mirrorless still camera. Actually, it's not like a Red or any of your big cinema film cameras, even though that's what it does. Just very small, very compact. And it's great for documentary. type.
I think
type
they
filming?
did that because in the original shoot, they used a bigger camera, and apparently with the woods, it was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare, but he also wanted to treat this almost like a nature documentary. That's what he said.
Okay.
He said, quote, "It's lulling you into a sense that the danger isn't quite there. When you see tourists getting really close to bears out in the wild, they're just like, oh no, look, it's not doing anything. It's fine. And then all of a sudden the bear just turns around and charges at you. You're way too defenseless and you just have no idea that they're capable of this much power and brutality," unquote. So
That's fair, because
Yeah.
one of my favorite activities is every summer looking on YouTube at the tourists that get ran over by buffalo in Yellowstone National Park. It's my yearly thing. I love it, and it never disappoints.
No.
People always are just like, it's a big fluffy cow, and then the bison fucking wrecks them.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't mess with that stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the feel he was going for.
I think he nailed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
now
think
that
so
I know
too.
that, I'm like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You did it. You did it, kid.
So Johnny, we cut later that evening. Johnny is in the woods. They are all sitting around a campfire.
Yep.
And now we find out about the legend of Johnny. Aaron is telling the story that he had heard from his uncle, and apparently decades earlier, Johnny, who was developmentally delayed, and he was the son of a local merchant, he was tricked into climbing the fire tower because they told him there was a bag of toys at the top.
What a bunch of tools.
I know,
like
right?
grown ass men.
Yep, these are
They're like,
lumberjacks
"Yeah,
who are out there
let's play a
working.
joke on this child.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
So he gets to the top, and there's a guy waiting for him in a mask, scares him. Johnny falls out of the fire tower, cracks his back or his neck when he hits the ground
Yeah,
and dies.
dies.
They cover it up, make it look like it's something else. The dad of this boy shows up, and he gets killed, and then everything just gets swept away.
Yeah, like the company or whatever the fire company is, they
Right.
just kind of sweep it under the rug. We're like, we don't need to bring that up.
Yep.
Nothing happened here.
What's really cool in this, so he gets done telling the story, and one of the girls decides, hey, it's time for a selfie.
Yeah.
So they all get on one side, and she's taking a selfie, and Johnny is standing in the trees.
Yeah, because like he is just kind of circling them, isn't he? Yeah, and so I was watching it on my phone this time around, and I don't remember if you can actually see him in the back. You can? Okay.
But he looks like a tree. He looks like he's part of the tree because he's in dark clothes.
Right.
And his face is just kind of blurred and just it blends in with the background really well.
But he's there.
He's there.
Okay.
Oh, you see it.
Nice.
Yeah, you definitely see it. So later that night, Aaron steps out and he's going to go down to the gas station to pick up some girls. This guy
is pretty great.
This is pretty
He's
cool.
upset. Like he won't shut up about these two gas station girls that
Yeah.
thought he was hot. I'm like, well, sir, they're gas station girls.
Right.
Like that's not. I'm sure there's a lot of nice gas station gals, but that's not generally the place you want to pick up.
No, I wouldn't
pick up
think
people
so.
you want to have sex with,
Not so much.
guys or girls.
Right. So he's leaning up against a tree, and Johnny comes up behind him and attacks him with a draw knife. Now, a draw knife, if you're not familiar with that, it is a traditional woodworking tool, right? It shapes wood. It's got a nasty blade, and then there's handles on either side of it.
Yep.
So he takes this and basically decapitates him through the jaw, through
the
the
mouth,
mouth,
yeah.
through the mouth. And so the body slides off, then the top of the head goes rolling, and
And you see like the tongue still though.
Yes.
On the bottom where
Yes.
the head slides off.
Yep.
And the coolest thing about this kill is so he's listening to headphones.
Right.
And he's listening to him so loud
Yes.
that you can hear it.
Yeah.
And that's what leads Johnny to him is the stupid music. And so yeah, Johnny
Yep.
comes up behind him and that's when he kills him. But I just love the use of sound in this movie
Yes.
is killer. Because
What-
I actually listened to it in my headphones
Okay.
this time around.
Right.
And I recommend you do that.
You know what's interesting? Because the sound is fantastic, but there's no musical
No,
score at all.
There's none. I
The
mean,
only-
there's music because like
There's
you
sound
hear that
effects.
guy's like record
Right.
playing, but there's no score.
Right. There's no score. The first time you actually hear music is in the end credits.
And do you know that like all like what that guy was listening to and then the end credit stuff? Do you know it was all local bands?
I did not.
No big bands. They're all just like local bands from like little artists, and
That's very
he decided
interesting.
to throw them in there. I thought that was kind of
Nice.
cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So Johnny drags the body and the head to the local ranger station, which is deserted this
fucking
time of night.
miles away.
Oh
and
my
he's just
God.
dragging this corpse.
So he throws the head through the window so
Yeah.
he can gain access to it. Then he comes in and he uses the body to smash open these display cases where there's tools, including an antique firefighter mask, dragging hooks, and an axe. And this is the
Yeah.
first time we see the mask. And it's one of those old style smoke protector masks with the old goggles. This is, I can't remember. I think that it's from like the 30s or 40s. It's an old fashioned.
It's old.
Yeah.
I never knew this was when I first saw the trailer for this, and then I learned it was a firefighter helmet. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a perfect slasher mask.
It really is.
It is cool.
And the fun fact about this, it was very difficult for the actor, Ry Barrett, to operate in this thing because the goggles kept fogging up. And so he literally had to memorize the number of steps he had to take
Jesus.
to hit his mark for the camera because he couldn't see anything because it just kept fogging up on him.
Seems like a design flaw for the firefighters.
It really does. It really does.
Just
so-
don't breathe.
The next day, we have the two girls. We have Aurora and Brody who are out on this dock, and Brody is in the water and she's flirting with
She is
Aurora.
horny.
Oh my God, she wants Aurora, and Aurora kind of wants her, but
She's a little bit more coy. She's
a
just
little more coy.
I think she says, "If you want me, just fucking do it. I don't have time for this like high school bullshit."
And she's like, "Well, that's great because I hated high school," or something to that
Something
effect.
awesome,
Something
yeah,
like
something
that.
smooth.
So Johnny sees this from
From
across
across
the
the
lake.
lake.
This is one of my favorite scenes because he starts to get into the lake from his side and just walks across the bottom of the lake to get to the other side.
So in the original cut, what they originally wanted was to follow Johnny as he walked along the bottom of the river. Obviously impossible, so they couldn't really do that. And then they tried where the camera was overhead looking into the water,
Okay.
and they would have followed that way. Again, that didn't work, so they
Yeah.
had to settle for this.
Okay.
But that would have been really cool.
That would have been.
That would have been so cool.
It was a pretty cool. This is a pretty cool scene anyway.
Yeah.
Just the atmosphere and everything going on here. So Aurora leaves to go practice yoga and leaves Brody to just swim around. Well, obviously Johnny finally reaches her, and all you do is you see her go under.
It's like Jaws.
It is. It really is. And then she pops up and she goes down again. What I love about this kill is once she goes down, it's like probably a good 30 seconds of
That's a
the
long
camera
time.
just shooting the water with
Mhm.
no action. It's just quiet
Nice and
except for
still.
nature. The water's still, and then you see bubbles come up, and then eventually the body
Yeah.
comes up, and Brody is kill number 3, and she's obviously drowned, and that's
Right. Yeah,
that.
she's a gonzo.
Yeah.
But before Aurora does leave, she tells her like something like, "I'll be doing yoga up on the hill if you want to come stretch me out," which is just a thing to say.
Well, yes, it is, because what happens next? It's a little bit of foreshadowing
think
here.
Yeah, she might get stretched a bit.
Oh, she definitely does. So researcher Jillian is, we talked earlier about this film. She's not seen it. I described this next kill to her, and she was like, oh my God.
How do you even describe it? Like,
So I'm going to attempt
you're gonna try your best, but like it's a doozy.
It really is. So Aurora, who is played by the amazing Charlotte Cregan, she is there on this, this cliffside.
Yeah, it's picturesque. Doing some yoga.
Beautiful vista. She's stretching out, and she hears a twig crack behind her, and she thinks it's Brody, and she's
Yeah.
like, well, it's about time.
Took you long enough.
Yep. She turns around, and there's Johnny standing there.
Yeah.
And he's got these dragging hooks, and she screams, and she has nowhere to run because she's on the edge of a cliff.
Right.
So he comes up, and he takes one of the hooks, shoves it through her back. It comes out her stomach.
Yep.
And then
He
she
flips her around to face him.
Yep.
He just pulls this hook through her,
Right.
and then he smashes the hook into the top of her head.
Yep. Spins her
Turns
back
her
around.
back around, and then pulls the chain back, which then breaks her neck, pulls her head through her body and out the back.
Out her back. So, and then just shoves her off the cliff.
And the funny thing is it's this like super steep thing into a river.
Yes.
Her body doesn't have the dignity to even make it to the water.
No, it
just
doesn't.
Stops halfway down.
It does.
And the crew were like, the original plan was for it to go all the way down into the river.
Right.
But then when it didn't, they're like, oh, that's funny. We're just
Leave
gonna
it.
leave it.
That's
like that.
those are the best takes where an accident happens and it actually works better than what's scripted.
Yeah. And fun little fact about this kill, it took 4 months to shoot, and they didn't they would just shoot it in pieces.
Yeah.
Like, so the scene where the neck gets broken was actually filmed in like one of their parents' backyard.
Oh my God.
So it took place in many different places and over
Oh
a
my
long
God.
time. So it was not just a shooting day. It was multiple.
I would love to have Charlotte Cregan on the show just to talk about that. Jillian, see what you can do. See if you can book that guest for us, and we'll
get on that.
Get on that. Really?
JK,
oh
LOL.
God.
We're all having a good time.
We are having a good time. Oh my goodness. All right. So so Aurora is out of the picture now. She is gone.
I guess that kills you.
Yeah, definitely it does. So now we go back and we find Troy, Colt, Chris, and Evan arguing about their missing friends because we're now missing Aaron, we're missing Brody, we're missing Aurora, and Troy thinks that they've just gone on to do their own thing.
Well, I'm
and
sure
it's
everyone
not,
thinks Aaron's just getting it on with the gas station gals.
Yeah. Well, Chris and Colt do not think that. They think something's happened. They want to file a report, call the police. So they're getting into this big argument, and Troy takes their car keys and then tosses them into the woods.
Yeah, you always have to have one of those.
You do.
One of those friends.
And they land right in front of Johnny, who
very
is standing
convenient.
there because he's attracted to the sound of them arguing. So this is kind of interesting. He picks up the keys, and on the key ring is a toy car.
It's very sweet.
It's very sweet. So he becomes this little boy again. He sits down with his back against the tree. He takes his mask off, so we get to see his disfigured face for the first time. And he's kind of playing with the car like a little boy.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of touching.
It's very sweet.
Very sweet.
It makes you just want to like call him a big sweet boy and adopt him.
Yeah, until you see what he's going to do next, because it just
But
keeps
he's just
going.
misunderstood.
Oh, that's
He's
what it
a good
is.
boy
He's
deep down inside.
Just
He
misunderstood.
just needs love.
Well, Troy is, he comes into the woods and Johnny had dropped his axe. And
there's a toy car.
He was a toy car. So he drops the axe, picks up the car. Troy finds the axe, and he's literally just a few yards away from Johnny. Doesn't know it. So he picks up the axe. In the meantime, we have Chris and Colt who get on an ATV to go find the ranger, and they take off. And so now it's just Troy. And he goes back to the house, back to the cabin. Evan is still in the cabin. And Johnny follows him back. And to create a diversion, he takes a log, and their car is parked right there. So he takes the log, puts it between the driver's seat and the horn. So now the horn is going.
This is
Just
my
constant
favorite
blare.
scene.
Is it really?
Just because you see these scenes all the time in slashers where it's like, oh, there's this sound. Oh, the killer's over here.
Right.
Now you get to see him just do it.
Yes, you
like
do.
every step of the way.
So this is the perspective of this film that I love so much. You're seeing it from the eyes of Johnny and not the victims, right? So Johnny walks around the cabin just as Troy comes running out to see what the hell's going on. And he thinks it's, Colt.
Right.
And he's, mouthing off to him. And then he turns and there's Johnny with the axe.
Yep, just like the jump scare. There's like, oh, how'd he get there?
Yeah.
Well, now we know.
Now we know.
Just took a little walk
and
around
it
the
worked.
house. It worked.
It worked.
And this is where I was like, okay, because they play him off as just a dumb, lumbering idiot.
Yeah.
But he clearly isn't. He's not
No.
a trap.
Yeah, he
Like,
did.
He's pretty smart. Like, I couldn't do this.
No.
I'm not. I can't think that far ahead.
No, I can't either. I would not make a good killer in these
I
films.
would not.
I would.
One, I have my mother's wrists, and those aren't built for killing. And two, I would feel bad.
Oh my God. I would not make a good killer or a good victim. I would be like the first one to go.
I would make a good victim because I would cry a lot.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's all you need to do.
I'm like, no, please.
So Troy takes an axe to the leg and goes down. Evan hears all the commotion, comes out and has the shotgun, and he shoots Johnny, who goes down. They both think, oh, that's it. He's down. Well, that
They've
is
clearly
never the case.
watched a slasher movie
No.
once in their life.
No. So Troy is helped up by Evan, and then they start to walk down the driveway through the forest to go get help. Well, Johnny just conveniently sits up, takes his axe.
Like the Undertaker.
Like the Undertaker.
When he's all, You
Yeah.
ever watched? Yeah, if
Yes.
you've never seen wrestling. The Undertaker's always just laying down. And he just sits up abruptly. He's just,
Yep.
And he's like, oh shit, just got real.
So he takes his axe and he throws it down the driveway.
In this sick ass overhead shot.
Yes.
So it's like a drone shot, and you just see him throw it. You don't see
Right.
if it connects, and then it kind of just starts moving.
Yep.
And then you see the axe in that guy's head.
Yep.
And then you see the other guy, because he's the one who took the axe, right? In the leg.
Evan. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Troy
so
took
he
the
can't
one.
get up, so he's
No.
just laying there defenseless.
Right.
And Johnny, this is probably my favorite kill. Even no, it can't be. It's got to be the Aurora. But
It's-
still,
yeah.
this one is so damn cool, though.
It is
I wish
cool.
I could give it my favorite kill because Johnny just picks up his giant rock.
Yep.
And I don't know where the cut happened because he is moving and talking, and then the rock is dropped and his head explodes.
Yeah.
But he's moving and talking up until that.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that cut
So
is.
Evan takes the axe to the back of the head, goes down, and you don't hear Troy's reaction for a minute. I don't think he realizes
Probably
what's
not.
happened. And then by the time he turns and looks, he's on his back. He can't walk because of his leg injury. And then, there's Johnny. And it's very cool because he just picks up this big rock and then just slowly walks over the top of him, brings it down, and boom.
Yeah.
And you're right. His head just explodes. It's not pretty.
It's not. But I'm like, I've rewatched it like right before coming here. I was just like, where the fuck is this cut?
Yeah.
I want to know how they did this scene.
I'm going to have to go back and look at that again now.
Yeah, it's
you're
moving
right.
up until the moment of impact. So
It is.
I do not know how they did that.
Wow. That is true. So Colt and Chris return and they found the bodies,
That's right.
and then Johnny took the axe and threw it towards Chris
because
and she moved.
he sees the locket dangling from her neck.
Right, because she's actually wearing the legitimate
The mommy locket.
the mommy locket. So he throws the axe at Chris and Colt yells at her because, he sees him coming.
Right.
So she's able to roll out of the way. So the axe misses her. She gets on the ATV. They take off and they get to the ranger station this time. Now it's nighttime.
And there was a moment that I forgot to talk about when they were all there at the cabin. They do mention the picture. And one of the girls is like freaking out because she's like, what if it was the guy in the background of our picture? So they had noticed him. Some of the boys were just like, it's a tree. It's this.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
But so he was noticed in that picture, which I think is a cool touch.
We'll have to bring it up on the big screen for you so you can see
Yeah,
that.
I
because
wanna see it.
It is definitely, you can see him, but he does blend into it. It's
Let me
pretty
see
cool.
if I can pull this up real quick.
So anyway, Colt and Chris return to the ranger station and the ranger is there. He explains now the locket that Chris is wearing. It's what was keeping Johnny's soul at rest.
Right.
So Johnny now walks out of the shadows, and there's some history here between this ranger and Johnny. Apparently, the ranger had put him down before.
Right, like 10 years prior.
Yes.
And he has relatives that were involved in the original, right?
His dad, the ranger's
Right,
dad,
okay.
was involved with the original. So now the ranger had put him back down 10 years ago, and now here he's back again, and he's freaking out when they're telling him that. And then he sees the necklace and goes, "Oh my God, what did you guys do?" And then Johnny comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So this, we're coming up on another death here, and I know that
This one is more mean-spirited.
It is.
This one feels
There's
ickier.
there's intent.
Yeah.
There's intent.
This one feels meaner for some reason.
So Johnny is shot by the ranger,
Mm-hmm.
and the ranger knows he's not dead. He's just slowed down now.
Right.
So he tells Colt, "Go get the chains out of the shed. We need to chain him up." Well, they don't get that far. The chains come out, but Johnny sits up and it's bad. He tells Colt and Chris, "Go, run." And Johnny ends up breaking the ranger's spine and paralyzing him from the neck down. So he takes the chain and wraps it around the ranger and drags him. First, before he drags him, he goes into the shed.
And you see it all right in front of the ranger's face, and you can just see his eyes moving, but he can't move.
He
so
can't
you see
move.
Johnny walk away, power up something, and then come back.
Yeah, you hear the motor fire
Yeah.
up. As it turns out, it is a wood splitter. All right?
Yeah.
So he takes the chain. Look at Jillian's. Her eyes just got huge. So he takes the chain, wraps it around the ranger,
He
and
doesn't wrap it
drags
around.
him.
He stabs him with.
Is that what he does? He stabs
puts it
him
in
with
his back and drags
Oh God!
him. Yeah.
Drags him into the shed, and he takes a log, puts it on the splitter, and demonstrates what this thing's going to do. Well, we know what it's going to do. It's a log splitter, obviously. So the log gets split. The blade retracts, comes down, and it's one of those slow. It doesn't go fast.
And this
it's,
machine is so loud.
Oh yeah,
it is like the sound. Like I was listening in the movie theater originally, and in my headphones, I'm just like, "Good grief! This thing is so loud and obnoxious."
It was bad. So the next thing he does is he takes the ranger's right arm, puts it up on the track, and then. And the ranger loses his arm and it comes off. So here's at the point of the film where I thought, oh my God, we're going to go limb by limb. And this is going to be this drawn out, bloody, gory, messy thing. So it turns out that's not what it was, because now after the arm, we jump and he just picks up the body and places the neck onto the log splitter and starts and there's no reaction from the ranger,
because he can't
do anything.
Can't move.
He can't vocalize. He can't do anything. And you just see the blade coming down and it decapitates him. And that is kill
One
number
note I
7.
thought he was going to do. So I thought he was going to do all the limbs, and then I thought he was going to lay his body on it, and it was going to cut him all the way in half. That's what I thought he was going to do.
That thought occurred to me when I saw this in the theater. So I was very surprised that they only did one limb. I guess they had a limited budget, so they couldn't go through and pay for the other limbs. And then so they just cut to the chase and said, okay, we're just going to end this guy's life. And that's how we're going to do it.
But that scene was like 3 minutes long of just like,
oh, it was long.
Yeah.
for two cuts, it was pretty long. Yeah, definitely. So, so that's the ranger. He is kill number 7. And then we cut back to the woods where Colt and Chris are trying to set a trap for Johnny. They're trying to lure him into a trap. And Johnny overhears their plan. And then Colt sneaks around behind Johnny, and he's standing at this tree. And he starts to talk, and Johnny's ready for him. And he takes the axe and right in the head. Mm-hmm. So what happens next is something I don't know if I've ever seen in a horror film quite to this degree.
And this is where the movie kind of lost me.
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, because I'm like, what is happening here?
So here's the thing. He is chopped by the axe 90 times, 90. You see the first several, and then it cuts to Chris's reaction, and you have to count the thuds, and it goes up to 90.
That's insane, because the first one splits his head in two.
Yes.
It's like, what's left of him to hack?
There's not. And then Chris runs, but you still hear more thuds happening, and it continues on.
But this is where it turns into like a mystical, magical forest that just keeps leading her back to it.
Yeah.
She's running away,
she ran
but then she keeps like stumbling back upon it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this, the Blair Witch? Like, what's going on here?
She ran in a complete circle. Yeah, she ends up back there again.
Multiple times, I feel like.
And she also had a gas can, because their plan was obviously to set him on fire and do this. And she hung the necklace on the gas can before she took off running. Mm-hmm. So that's still there. That's important to know. So I put this count somewhere well over 100 chops by the axe. Again, I lost track just because there were too many.
I don't know what, like, welcome to Overkill City. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. And I agree. I think for me, this is kind of where it got a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, had they maybe 8 or 9, just, fine. But to go as many as we did here, and they did show it at one point, and it was just a pile of, it wasn't even a pile. It was like a pool, puddle of just whatever.
I don't, and it's just like almost like they made the woods magical and mystical for one scene.
Right.
And like, I was just like, okay, this is a weird turn we're taking.
A little bit.
And the turn just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So we cut to Day. She's still running through the woods, and she trips and she impales her leg on a branch.
Yeah.
Which, of all things, I don't know exactly how it happened. We didn't really see it.
We don't see it. She just has the wood in her leg.
Yeah, she has this branch, this small branch.
I guess the magical woods attacked
her. Yeah, I think so.
It's like that scene in Evil Dead where the trees, do their thing to that lady.
Yep.
They just, stab this one.
So she ends up on this, she stumbles out onto this gravel road.
God.
And she flags down a motorist. And this is one of my favorite scenes because
really
it is. And I'll tell you why. It's because of who is driving the truck. All right. It is an actress by the name of Lauren Marie Taylor. She was one of the camp counselors who got hacked up by Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, Part 2.
Yeah.
And the fact that she has come back into this horror film, I loved it. I thought the scene went on way too long, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
I think I told you when I saw this last year, I came back and we talked about it last year, that when we got to this scene, it kind of felt like an entirely different writer had taken over, because the whole tone, everything changed, and it was not relevant. This whole scene. I mean, picking her up and was great. But then this whole backstory that is told, because so this woman picks
It's
her
not
up.
even an official backstory though. She's talking about a bear.
She's talking about so this
But
woman,
like it is about him. It's just like about nature and how
Yeah.
it doesn't I don't. It's dumb.
it's very strange. So Chris gets picked up by this woman in her truck who's going to take her to the hospital because she's bleeding out from this branch wound, whatever you want to
From
call
the
it.
tree attack.
Right. So the woman is telling this story about her brother, who was a game warden, survived a bear mauling in the same woods, and it goes on forever.
15
and ever.
minutes.
Yeah, it's a 15-minute scene.
Yeah.
And it's just very bizarre. And I'm thinking something's going to happen. This woman is in cahoots with Johnny or
Right.
something bizarre. Nothing
No,
happens.
she's a good lady.
She's a
a
good
nice lady who just
Yeah.
legitimately is saving her.
This could have shaved a good 10 minutes off the film, and maybe that's why they left it in to stretch. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she notices that the leg is bleeding more and more, so she pulls over to put a tourniquet on there to get the bleeding under control. And here's where I thought,
Yeah, because
Johnny,
her back is to the woods.
Yes.
And you see like where the injured girl is sitting. So like you could see, the woods. And yeah, same. I was like, okay, he's gonna pop up sometime.
I totally thought something completely sinister was going to happen here. Nothing sinister
happens.
ever happened. And it's just, and then that's it. We do see one last shot of the gas can, and now the necklace, the locket is gone.
Yep.
So Johnny has retrieved it.
Yeah, so
And
he's
that's it.
now at peace, I guess.
Yeah.
But I get why they did it. Like, I don't respect or like it, but I
Right.
understand what they were going for. And I guess they succeed because you are on edge the whole time because you're waiting for something to happen.
Right.
But then when it doesn't, you have nowhere to put that like built up tension. So you're just like, felt like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So like they build it, but
Right.
then they just leave you hanging there.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, exactly. It was very, very, very long. The whole
Weird
scene.
choice. A
Yeah.
Weird choice to end this.
Yep.
Starting with the magical, mystical woods for me.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite scene, I did like that just because of Lauren Marie Taylor, was definitely not my favorite scene. My favorite scene was the lake scene. I just thought that was so cool how they did that, and he walked on the bottom of the lake to get to the other side. Favorite character was Johnny because I didn't really give a shit about anybody else in the film.
I couldn't tell you any of their names because they don't matter. It's like one of camp counselor characters never matter. These ones really don't.
No, they just weren't good people.
No,
They were not
just,
good people.
And they just don't give a shit. So yeah, I guess my favorite character is Johnny. Favorite scene is the booby trap he lays at the cabin.
Yep.
That's my favorite scene.
That's great.
And then, favorite kill.
Aurora.
Yeah. It's
I put down Aurora's yoga cliffside
the
mutilation.
yoga stretching out.
Yeah. Final kill count, 8 people in this one. And as far as the star grade, I actually did enjoy it. I liked the perspective coming from the killer side of it.
Right.
I would have given it a 5, probably had the ending wrapped up, but I'm going to give it a 4, 4 stars.
Yeah, I do love. So the thing that I had this experience in the theater, but with the headphones is the ASMR of him walking is top notch.
Yeah.
So if you're an ASMR person, yeah, this movie's great. Yeah. But I'm going to give it 3 stars. I hate the ending. And then it is a lot of just walking.
Yeah.
So, I really liked it a lot more the first time. The second time, I was just like, okay, I wish at least 10 minutes of this walking was cut off.
Yeah. Oh, there was a lot of walking.
Yeah.
So this film is also the way it's shot too, and in addition to the 4:3 aspect ratio, it's a lot of long extended master shots without a lot of camera cuts, and a lot of it is, you're right, just him.
It's just Johnny walking, getting his steps in.
Yeah, getting his steps in. I think he had his
I wonder if he had his
going.
Fitbit,
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
I guarantee you he met his goals.
Yeah,
every day.
And you know what? Obviously that's what they were going for. They want you to come at it from his perspective. But I think some of those walking scenes could have been cut down.
Yeah,
just like the last scene could have been cut down. And
like who gave a fuck? This would have been a great 70-minute movie.
Yep.
Like who cares?
Sure,
like it's fine.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be an hour and a half.
Yep, I totally agree.
But I do. I know the director studied like a lot of first-person video games, and he did nail that feel to it.
Yeah.
So if you like video games and wanted to watch a movie of a guy walking looking like a video game,
there you
this
go.
is it.
You'll love it.
This is going to be a 5-star for you.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. It is In a Violent Nature. Last summer it came out, 2024. So, check it out. It's worth the watch.
It's worth a watch at least once. Because it's unique.
Yep.
It's at least unique.
It is.
And I got to give props to whenever a movie is unique. So.
Right, exactly. Coming up next, it is your Scare Preview.
Welcome to Jaunty Haunts, the podcast about all things supernatural. After 30 years of keeping a secret, I'm finally ready to share with the world that I see ghosts. This podcast is all about getting spooky and connecting with others who might also sense, see, or feel things beyond the ordinary. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, let's connect, share, and maybe feel a little less crazy together.
You can listen to and binge Jaunty Haunts right now on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you podcast. Stay spooky, ghoul friends.
All right, it is your Scare Preview, and these are movies that Michael and I are excited about that are going to be coming out. The Strangers, Chapter 2.
Is that coming out?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about it.
It is coming out this year. And I will tell you, the premise sounds almost identical to Chapter 1, except instead of a cabin, they're in a B&B.
Oh, my God.
No release date officially, but it is 2025. They're in post-production. Madeline Page is back, directed by Rennie Harlan. He did all of them.
Because they shot all these at once.
They did.
Like, they're all done.
They're done. Yeah. Yeah, they're just finishing up the post-production. And so, Chapter 2... coming out this year. I love these movies.
Yeah. I'm curious because originally they were going to release the second one last year and the third one this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with those, but I was kind of wondering if they were actually going to put them out.
Yeah.
But I guess, okay, so
Yeah.
they are coming. Mine is a movie that just premiered at South by Southwest and is getting a ton of love.
Good boy.
It's called Good Boy.
Good Boy.
It's Good Boy. It's about a loyal dog who moves to a rural family home with his owner, Todd, only to discover a supernatural force lurking in the shadows. As dark entities threaten his human companion, the brave pup must fend them off. This is a haunted house movie told from the perspective of a dog. It is an hour and 12 minutes, nice and brisk. No release date, but it is this year, and I think it looks cool as hell.
What's not to love about that premise?
Yeah.
Seriously.
This is so unique. I'm like, hell yeah. We had that movie Presence that was told from like the perspective of the ghost. Now we get it from a dog.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Lots of good horror movies still to come. So that is going to wrap it up for episode 17. And coming up next week, this is one of the earliest horror films that I saw from the 80s when I was getting into horror films. It is a movie called April Fool's Day from 1986, as we are going to be approaching April Fool's Day.
Right.
So we're going to do this film. It's a mystery horror film with a huge plot twist. And it was very polarizing when it came out because some people loved the twist, others did not so much. It's got a pretty good Rotten Tomatoes rating now. It's kind of one of those films that has a cult following now,
Right.
and you just kind of go back to it.
Okay.
So, pretty
This one's
exciting.
been on my watch list for a long time, so I'm excited to actually have an excuse to get to it.
They did do a remake of it, I believe, in 2008. It's loosely
Okay.
based on the concept, but totally not even, in my opinion, as good as what this original one was.
Okay.
So, yeah. So April Fool's Day from 1986 will be next week. Like and subscribe on socials.
Yes. Follow the podcast wherever you get podcasts. We're on YouTube now as well. So if that's where you want to do your podcast, and you can do it there. So just give us a subscribe, comment, like, all that good shit.
And email us too if you have any comments or you want to suggest a film. Please
Yeah, of course.
do.
It is openingkillpod@gmail.com. Nice and easy.
All right. We will see you next week for April Fool's Day.
The Opening Kill podcast is hosted by Michael Duran and Brian O'Connor. It's produced by Mystic Cloud Productions. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram too. Join us next Thursday for a brand new episode.